Alright, you guys, this one's going to be shorter than the first introductory one. I'm using a worksheet from back in section 5.4 from last semester to help you with the section 7.2. Alright, again, you're going to have to reduce these radicals and rationalize. The bottom ones certainly are a little bit harder, especially once they start involving I. But this is the basic, most foundational ones. Start by prime factoring. My advice still holds that I gave you already. So that's going to be 12 over square root of 2 cubed. I need the power to be a multiple of the root. So I need one more square root of 2 to complete the bottom. So the bottom is now the square root of 2 to the 4th. 2 to the 1st times 2 cubed is 2 to the 4th. Your square roots, the power is a multiple of the root. So I have 12 square roots of 2 over 2 squared, which is 4. The 12 and the 4 will reduce to leave you 3 square roots of 2. 40. Oh, this brings up a good point. If you guys can reduce from top to bottom, it's a great idea if you do it. That's a 1. That's 8. So I have 3, because square root of 1 is 1. It's funny, last semester a lot of kids were leaving this as the square root of 1. Nope, square root of 1 is, is 1. Might as well erase that, make it a little cleaner. Okay, over square root of 8, which we just did a square root of 8, so that's 3 over 2 cubed. So I need to multiply by the square root of 2 top and bottom. So I get 3 square roots of 2 over, it's now 2 to the 4th, which is going to be 2 squared, or 4. Okay, you guys can either write it as 2 squared, 2 goes into 4 twice, or you can write it as 4. Oops, I don't know why I wrote a 2 upstairs. Who's writing this stuff? Good gravy. That's a 3. Okay, that's a 3. Alright, apologize for that mistake. And then as we did in yesterday's homework assignment, you're multiplying by its conjugate, 2 minus the square root of 3, 2 minus the square root of 3. The top becomes 10 minus 5 square roots of 3 over the difference in square pattern. Square the first thing, 4 minus square root of 3 squared is 3. So the bottom is 1. So you just get 10 minus 5 square roots of 3. Because that's worth 1, I don't need to write it. So this would be multiplied by 3 plus the square root of 5. So you get 12 plus 4. It's supposed to be a 4, not a 9. Silly software. Alright. 4 square roots of 5 over different square pattern. 9 minus 5 is 4. So you have 12 minus 4 square roots of 5 over 4. And what you guys need to remember when you're reducing radicals or reducing fractions, when you have adding or subtracting going on, in order to reduce it, it has to reduce with both things. One way to see that is the whole top is being divided by 4. So your answer is 3 minus the square root of 5. You don't have to separate it like this. I'm just doing it to illustrate the point that this is going to reduce to 3 and that's going to reduce to 1. Okay? It doesn't just go and you're done and 12 minus square root of 5. No, it also has to be divided into the 12. You need that idea to get this next piece. Alright. You guys remember I is the square root of negative 1, and I squared, and this is the important piece for this, is 1. No, negative 1. Holy cow. Phew. Let me erase that. Ay, caramba. I think I didn't know what I was doing. Okay. I squared is negative 1. Okay. You're going to multiply by its conjugate, 1 plus I. The top is 7 plus 7i over difference of square pattern. So far nothing's different here. Square the first thing minus square the second thing. And this is where you use this piece of information. So that's 1 minus a negative 1, because that's what I squared is worth. This is worth negative 1. And you had 1 minus negative 1. That's 1 plus 1, which is 2. Now, there's a rule whenever you're dealing with I that says you're supposed to write your answers in what's called A plus BI form. So that means you have to write it as two separate things. Because the bottom is worth 2, I have to split it. So it's 7 over 2 plus 7i over 2. That would be your final answer, because then it's an A plus BI form. When you have, I guess I don't have a good example of a radical, say this bottom was 7, just for example, you don't have to split it because it doesn't have an I. If you want to, you can. It's totally legal to split it when it doesn't have an I. It's just there's no need to. There's no rule that says you have to. Alright? Alright, so let's get rid of that. Multiply by the conjugate, 1 plus 2i. The top is just 1 plus 2i. That was a difficult multiplication. The bottom is the difference of square pattern. Square the first thing. 1 minus square the second thing. That would be 4i squared. You're squaring this thing. Okay, you're just going to square it. So that's 1 minus 4 times negative 1, because that's what I squared is worth. So that becomes 1 minus a negative 4. So that becomes 1 plus 4, which is 5. So you have 1 plus 2i over 5, and because it has to be written in A plus BI form, then you have to split it. So it's 1/5 plus 2i over 5. Multiply by the conjugate. If this one's got a square root and an I, it doesn't change how you set up the conjugate. I squared is 2. 3 minus I squared is 2. Multiply the top, and you get 9 minus 3i squared is 2 over, square the first thing, 9 minus, square this. So that's I squared is 2 times I squared is 2. I times I is I squared, which you know is negative 1, times square root of 2 times the square root of 2, square root of 2 squared, which is 2. So it becomes negative 2. So the bottom's 11. Because it's got an I, you're supposed to split it. And that would be your final answer. Okay? So we multiply the 5 through, and you get 10 minus 5i squared, it's a 3. The bottom becomes 4 minus I squared times square root of 3 squared is 3. So it's 4 minus a negative 3, so the bottom is 7. Okay. When you have a negative sitting inside a radical, you need to pop it out first. And remember, that comes out as I. 3 minus I square root of 5. So that's stuff from last semester. Multiply by the conjugate. 3 plus I square root of 5. 3 plus I square root of 5. So the top becomes negative 6 minus 2i square root of 5. And the bottom, difference of square pattern, that's a 3. So that would be 9 minus I squared times 5, or 9 minus negative 5, or 14. So I'm going to extend the page down a little bit. So you have negative 6 over 14 minus 2i squared of 5 over 14. That reduces, so it would be negative 3/7 minus I squared of 5 over 7. Okay? If this was, just to give you an example, if this was something that doesn't reduce with the 14, it doesn't matter. Then this would be, this wouldn't reduce, but this one would, and that's okay. They both don't have to reduce. Okay? I believe that's it. Thanks for your patience.